This week, we're going to talk about getting your hands a little bit dirty as a climate activist or just working with the climate responsibly. We have singer-songwriter activist Sarah Harmer and Canadian climate champion Dr. David Suzuki. So responsibly, if you can, get out there in your area and get your hands a little dirty, okay? Okay.
Daddy, can you help us?
I would love to, dear, but I have to stay 2 meters away, okay?
It's killing me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Steve Patterson Projecttt episode 5. I'd like to start by apologizing for the lighting on these shows. I realize I'm a little overexposed, or as we call it here in Canada, the Drake setting. And there they are, a very special welcome to our virtual audience this week. Some joining us again, some for the first time. We hope no one for the last time. Thank you again for taking your masks off long enough to let me see you not laughing. Here we go. Not to be outdone by last week's huge World Together at Home concert, this past Saturday, or past Sunday, depending on which day you watched it, Canada broadcasted the Stronger Together benefit show for frontline workers and Food Banks Canada. The show featured musical performances by some of Canada's biggest stars, many of whom were appearing from their homes outside of Canada to really show how proudly Canadian they are. There were a lot of great performances, but for me, the most honest was by Tom Cochrane, who performed a small amount of his hit song, Life is a Highway, but when he got to the chorus, abruptly stopped, realizing that nothing is open right now, so there's not much use going on a highway. Unless you're a truck driver delivering much needed supplies, in which case, by all means, please drive it all night long. The event also featured the Patterson family. There they are. They are acrobatic gymnasts from Cirque du Soleil, and they aren't musicians at all. So their inclusion in the show was a bit of a stretch. A groan is like a laugh to me. That doesn't scare me. The province of Quebec set out their lockdown lifting plans this week with May 11th as the date that elementary schools and daycares will reopen. You might have noticed it didn't say anything about Quebecers going back to work, just young kids getting out of the house. The reason is simple. French people are very, very horny. There they are. That's a Tuesday in Quebec. Speaking of black, white, and horny, with the Hong Kong Zoo closed due to COVID-19, 2 pandas in there mated for the first time in a decade. According to panda researcher Jim Harkness, pandas have trouble breeding in captivity. Yeah, Jim. Ying Ying and Li Li were waiting for the crowds to disappear, so just you could watch them, you panda pervert. Hong Kong zookeepers were excited about the possibility of a new baby panda until they realized that they're the ones who will have to homeschool it. Second groan if we're keeping score at home, and I don't mind it. Still in international news, North Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un may be dead, or he may still be alive. So same as all of us right now, I guess. All right, back to Canada, where Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced his plan to reopen the province on Monday. It'll be done in 3 stages with no timelines currently provided or any details of what will happen in each stage. So basically, the same as my plan to quit drinking during quarantine. Premier Ford also referred to the anti-shutdown protesters at Queen's Park as a bunch of yahoos, an insult so old I had to Google it. And according to Google, a Yahoo is a shitty older version of Google. So next I went to Yahoo and it told me to ask Jeeves. Canada's House of Commons reconvened this week for a virtual meeting on the video conferencing platform Zoom. Security experts say that using Zoom for parliamentary sittings could be a privacy disaster. But since the meeting was public anyways, the only thing that hackers could steal is the secret behind this move. Oh, yeah. You sweep that hair, Justin. You sweep it. The secret, by the way, if you're wondering, is to win over conservative aunts and more than a few conservative uncles. All right, let's cool things down a bit. An ozone hole that formed over the Arctic this spring and eventually grew into the largest ever recorded there has now closed. So this is a reminder to all of us, shop at your local ozone hole if you want it to stay open. And speaking of gaping holes, Waffle House restaurants have now opened up for dine-in service. True story. They've opened up for dine-in service in several states, proving once and for all that you can take Americans' waffles when you can pry them from their cold, dead hands. So probably by later this week. And finally, new research from the University of British Columbia shows for the first time that soil silicates, the most abundant material on the Earth's crust, plays a key role in blood clotting, which means soil in wounds can help stop bleeding to death. So, if you're bleeding to death right now, first, I admire your dedication for still watching this show. And second, you don't have to go to the hospital now. Just roll around in the dirt and you probably won't die. But if you do, you're already sort of buried. So it's a win-win. And that is our monologue for this week. Thank you again to our best virtual audience we've ever had. Thank you for not being here. Please watch the episode. Bye.
and it's killing me.
Hi everybody, I am so excited to introduce this week's guest that I've put glasses on for it. He is a world-renowned scientist, broadcaster, author, activist, and co-founder of the David Suzuki Foundation. It's Dr. David Suzuki, and our fly on the wall this week is none other than renowned singer, songwriter, and environmental activist herself, Sarah Harmer. I caught up to them just a couple days ago. It's probably the smartest talk we've ever had. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the man himself who is on a remote, undisclosed island in British Columbia. So we have a tentative intermittent internet connection, but we're going to try with Dr. David Suzuki. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor.
Well, I'm really delighted to be here, especially with one of my heroes, Sarah Harmer, who, as you know, is a long-time fighter for her territory out in Ontario. So
yeah, it wasn't a mistake that we put you together. We feel like this is going to be a great conversation. First of all, you're out in BC right now with your wife and grandkids. Is that true?
Yes, my youngest daughter and her family, her husband and 3 children. They're quite young. Twins are 2.5 years old.
Oh my goodness. Now, are you imparting all the knowledge that you can onto them? Are they going to be future activists for us? Or?
There's certainly, their mother has got a PhD in marine biology, and we're right on the ocean. We're on an island.
Oh, beautiful.
And there's no better way to learn than this. Every morning, we're down at the beach first thing, and well, it goes a lot by the tides. When there's low tide, we're down on the beach, and they know almost as much as I do already, you know, and they're really, really very young. But my 5-year-old grandson, he can tell right away when the tide is going down, and whether it's low enough for us to go and dig clams, or where we go and find the oysters. And he's out there with us when we haul our prawn traps up to catch prawns. And yesterday, I was a big hero in this family. Finally, I found a salamander and got to show the kids a salamander. And yeah, I think they're learning a lot.
I mean, I know you don't need to do this, but those children are living an existence that could be a lottery win for many people to be quarantined with yourself, to get knowledge like that and salamanders.
I mean, this is the way it used to be, you know, you learn by being with mom and dad, and they were out there doing whatever they did. But my incarceration I've been here since March 13th. And it happened by chance. We had come here for a long weekend. I only brought 3 pairs of knickers with me, and suddenly I'm in lockdown for months. But there's no better place for us to be than here. I was lucky. You know, you become aware now. We're on an island, and we put in a weekly order of food. And there's a nice arrangement where we order by internet. The store then calls us and says, your orders are ready. They're in boxes and they're outside the store. Come and pick them up. We pick them up and bring them back, and we wash them and all that stuff. But you realize how vulnerable our food chain is. You know, we're asking for lettuce and we're asking for tomatoes, and you go, wait a minute now, this is winter in Canada. Where the hell are these coming from? Well, they're coming from California. They're coming from Mexico. Doesn't make any sense. We are unbelievably vulnerable because we built these supply chains from all over the world. I mean, you know, how many of us eat bananas every week? Where the hell in Canada are we growing bananas? They've got to be shipped here. And being here and being aware of our food and cooking our own food, it's so much healthier. There's no restaurants. I haven't been to a restaurant in over 6 weeks. And the meals are wonderful. We spend a lot of our time preparing for the meals. And it's a wonderful ritual. You know, we do it together as a family. We sit down as a family. We talk together. Wow, you know, we're learning a lot about the things that really matter to us in life.
Is this our chance to reset? And do you think we're going to do it? We're going to take this lesson, or God willing, on the other side of this pandemic, is it a race to get back to where we were, hurting the environment? What do you think?
We have to take this crisis as a huge opportunity. My worry is that we have been running so much on a corporate agenda. And the corporations are just running the show, and governments seem to think that whatever they do to help corporations is good for Canadians. And I looked to the last big meltdown in 2008, when the banks were giving money to anybody that wanted to buy real estate. People that couldn't afford to buy these houses were being allowed to buy them. So you get a collapse in the stock market. What did the presidents of the United States, Bush and then Obama, do? Rather than saying, listen, you bastards, you put us into this dilemma with this crazy economics, putting constraints, not one of those corporate leaders went to jail. And what did the governments do? They poured massive amounts of money into the banks to keep them alive and get back going and doing things the way they were before. That's what worries me now. You know, when I look at environmentalists in the past begging for money for public transport, you know, begging for money. And now you look at the amount of money the government's pouring out there, and nobody's saying the deficit, we've got to be economically responsible. Look at that. Now let's pour that money the right way. All opportunities are there. If they're just trying to get the oil companies back up going and all of the other corporations back up going the way they were before, then I think that will be a lost opportunity.
I agree with you 1,000% on that. My question would be, what suggestions do you have? We know what the suggestions are for the companies, and when oil is in negative price territory, that doesn't seem like a very good business opportunity. I'm not an economics expert, but that doesn't seem like you should sell something that's not worth anything. But what do you say to the workers in those industries who have been trained in the industries, and they don't necessarily should they be upgrading their skills, and how do you even do that right now?
There's an excellent group in the tar sands right now. And these are workers in the tar sands who are saying, we've got skills. You know, we're pipe fitters, we're drillers, we're electricians, we're truck drivers. We've got all of these skills. Help us make a transition from extracting this material to doing things that will be the future, the renewable energy of the future. Give us money to support us to learn to apply our technologies, our skills, to installing solar panels on libraries, on schools, on public buildings. That's the kind of initiative we need.
I'm going to bring in now our fly on the wall who has been listening to this conversation, singer, songwriter, and known activist, Sarah Harmer. Are you there, Sarah? There she is.
Here.
My hero.
I've
This
been
is
listening.
this is the technology David was talking about. This is
Were
where
you
all
listening to that?
I sure was.
Oh
Yep.
my goodness.
I like to start these by asking if the fly on the wall, who in this case is Sarah, has any questions for the good doctor.
Oh, wow. Well, we had two swans fly over our house yesterday. I was in the backyard. It was a beautiful warm day. And I think they were trumpeter swans because they had big black noses. And we have a big wetland behind us. The trumpeters are the black nose swan, I believe. I don't know. I know you're not an ornithologist.
I'm not a birder.
I have so many questions for you, but
Yeah, I should have specified it should be something related to this conversation. So
Oh.
you can't just have David naming
Well,
birds.
You know, these reports that nature is coming back. In Venice, they're seeing fish in the canals, and you know, all kinds of people are saying, I saw wolf in the city of Vancouver, and all of this stuff. I think it's still too short a period for nature to recover that quickly. But I think that being kind of stuck in a place now, that we're seeing wildlife, it's still around us. They're coming out and we're seeing them.
How long? What's the time frame between, hey, this is great to have some animals back, and Planet of the Apes when they take over? Do we have a few weeks or?
I'll give you a few years.
Okay, good. I can work with that. Sarah, something that you had tweeted about, which gave me the insight into it, was that on the downside of the environment and things being at a lesser activity right now and everything, environmental protection laws are kind of being pushed to the side that were being paid closer attention to. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm aware that the Ontario government has suspended the Environmental Bill of Rights and the public participation aspect of that, so that while we're all, in quarantine, business as usual is still really pushing ahead. And I don't know too much about it, but public participation, I think, has been, at least the notification has been lifted. So that's shameful and something that we can't really accept. Obviously, we've all got a stake in what's going on, and the government, I see the government as being us. They're just our representatives. So they speak. We have to have a part to play. So yeah, I think that has happened. That the Ontario government has suspended that, hopefully temporarily. I don't know too much.
But I think you're right, Sarah. Before the COVID-19 crisis, 500,000 people marched in Montreal behind Greta. 120,000 marched in Vancouver behind Greta. All of that momentum had built up. And it's up to us to carry that out and get that public support for the way that we have to go after this crisis is over. And I have to ask you, Sarah, did you save your mountain?
David, we did for 7 years, and now Nelson Aggregate Lafarge has come back saying that they want to try again.
My God.
I know, they haven't put their application in, but they've just announced that they are going to. So a new group, citizens group called CORE, C-O-R-E, CORE Burlington, has formed, just a small community group, but with lots of public support and lots of experience, because we fought for 8 years to protect Mount Nemo. And you were part of that fight. You came and helped us at our event. And so no, we're going to have to go through that same drill again, but and we're going to have to protect the water and the wetlands and the woods again, but we will. There's a lot of people committed to it.
I think it seems like it's a never-ending fight, but thank goodness there are people like yourselves doing that fight.
The environment was very, very high 40 years ago. And I remember celebrating so many victories. We stopped programs to drill for oil at the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in Alaska. We stopped a dam on the Peace River in Vancouver, in BC. We stopped a dam in the Amazon and at Altamira. These things we called victories. 40 years later, we're fighting them again. Well, they're building the dam at Site C on the Peace River. They're building the dam at Altamira in the Amazon. They're going to drill for oil at the Arctic. So I have been saying over and over again, the problem with the environmental movement is we thought we won and that was it, but they were temporary. And that's why I think the exciting thing that's coming out now is the involvement of Indigenous people. Indigenous people are saying, we've lived here for thousands of years. And the thing they offer is a sense of reciprocity in thanking their creator for nature's abundance and generosity. They always say, we have to act the right way to make sure that nature can continue to be productive. That's not on in the corporate agenda. The corporation is driven to make money, period. That's the end of the whole thing. No responsibility or sense of obligation. And that's the crisis we face. And we've got to get people to understand that, I think.
I'm gonna say thank you very much to Dr. Suzuki for taking part in this panel. A pleasure, and we hope we can.
My honor.
We hope we can have you on again. And I will say, I just have one more last question for you. I don't know if you know this, but you have the best hair of anyone that I've ever met, and I will never have that hair. You still have it. Is there a genetic reason for that? Is it scientific, or is it just Mother Nature saying thank you for everything you've done? What do you think?
It's genetic, and I chose my mother wisely, because that's where you get your X chromosome, and there you go.
Good to know.
Sarah, it's great to see you. You're you're my hero.
Oh, yeah, likewise, David. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suzuki. Sarah, don't go anywhere, please.
And it's killing me.
Now we get to focus solely on Sarah. Can you still hear me, Sarah?
I can. Yes, yes.
Would you grace us with the honor of a song?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm psyching you out because I'm sitting in front of my piano, but I don't really play.
Oh, just look at that. Just a guitar just kicking around, of course.
All right. So this song is called Just Get Here. And my friend recently said to me that it seemed like a pertinent song for the moment because even though when I reference the thumbs in the song, I'm talking about hitchhiking, but she's thinking, these days when we're all in isolation. Anyways, I didn't need to preface it too much, but yeah, just get here. If I was a crow, I'd fly the roads that wind between these places. Over back lanes and weathered veins where creeks have left their traces. Fruit trees planted long ago still bloom every other season. A fence won't keep the rabbits out. The gate's always open for some damn reason. Trace the coastline to a place that's worn and storied. At the end of that chain, the Great Lakes drain into the old St. Lawrence. Oh, we've held a party or two, slept a million dreamers who woke to find the coffee on. Though the smoke is gone, the poetry lingers. If you're too tucked away and you can't see the sun, if you're something to say but you ain't got no one, whatever you do, if you have to, I'll use your thumb. Just get here, just come. If you come out at night, you'll see the light and where to make the turn off. But do call ahead, we might be in bed or riding with our clothes off. Riding under wallpaper, riding on the wound. But poets die, a lullaby still whispers faintly in the room. If you're too tucked away and you can't see the sun, if you're something to say but you ain't got no one, whatever you do, if you have to, or use your thumb, just get here, just come. If you're tucked away, you can't see the sun. If you're something to say, you ain't got no one. If your hands are getting cold, you don't know what you'll become. If I was a crow, I'd fly the roads that wind between these places, where poems were read and hungers fed and hearts were warm and gracious. Did we keep a guest book somewhere, or are the records fading? We'll make a vow to start one now. There is still time, but it's not waiting.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm learning how to react to these now. I've watched enough online shows now that but it's a pleasure to be able to react and speak to you after, because usually
right.
I've got myself muted and I'm just a crazy person in my house clapping, and my kids don't know why. I have to ask this because with a person with a CBC show, we get questions like this all the time, but your most recent album is called Are You Gone?, which is a great album that everyone should get first and foremost, but there is no question mark, Sarah. Now, how can you have the words "Are you gone?" and no question mark? That's my question.
Well, I am glad you asked, Steve. It was really a conundrum. I had a really hard time naming the album. I couldn't come up with a name. And then when I finally did, it was like, is it gonna have a question mark? And I guess I went back to Jay Mascis of Dinosaur Jr. put out a record called Where You Been? And it had no question mark. I'm like, if it was good enough for Jay Mascis, it's good enough for me. It was just a visual thing. It was just kind of messing with me when I was looking at it with the question mark. So I decided no question mark.
Fair enough. The precedent has been set, and I appreciate the explanation. But still, I hate to say it, you're going to get letters. You're going to get letters from me.
I am. It's true. I said kilometer once on the CBC, and I got kilometer letters for days.
I could show you the letters we get. I think I said either infer or imply in the wrong context, and you would have thought I was starting a campaign to get letters into me to describe how to speak. But thank you so much for taking the time with us today.
Hey, I enjoy your show a lot too. It's lots of fun. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Cheers, Sarah.
Okay, bye.
and it's killing me.
Well, that's it for episode 5, everyone. Thanks again so much to our guests, Dr. David Suzuki, Sarah Harmer, and all our virtual audience members, who are fine people in their own right. And thanks to you for watching. Please watch us on YouTube and subscribe to the Steve Patterson Project, or catch us on Facebook, or wherever you're catching us. Catch us again, share, and tell your friends. We hope to see you again for episode 6 and many, many more. We'll see you next week.
And it's killing me.
What happens in book club stays in book club.
That is the greatest.